Hello students, we are discussing essential elements of a valid contract. First essential element of a valid contract is agreement. Second, intention to create legal relations. Third, free consent. And fourth essential element of a valid contract about which we have discussed is contractual capacity. Now in this class we are going to talk about fifth essential element, that is lawful consideration. Now what is lawful consideration? Section 25 of Indian Contract Act says that an agreement without consideration is void. Void means what? Void means not enforceable. Section 25 says that whenever there is an agreement and that agreement does not have consideration, in that case, such agreement will be totally void, not enforceable by law. Totally void means as if it is null. Null means court will not consider that such an agreement was created. It will not have any effect in the court of law. It will not have any value in the eyes of law. That is not enforceable. So if a party goes to a court of law with an agreement where there is no consideration, that party will not get any remedy in the court of law. That means it is not enforceable by law. Now what is consideration? Now consideration means something in return for the promise. So consideration means what? Consideration means something in return. So in Latin language it is known as quid pro quo. So quid pro quo means something in return. That means it is a consideration for the promise. So sometimes for 2 marks this question is asked. What do you mean by quid pro quo? So quid pro quo means consideration. That means it is something in return for the promise. Now what does it mean by this something in return? So in an agreement, both the parties must give something and get something in return. That means the consideration is the price for the promise. So when we are doing something or we are promising to do something, we should get something in return. Means both the parties should give something and get something in return. That is called as consideration. So consideration means it is a price which the parties to a contract are getting for their promise. We will take an example of it. A agrees to sell his book to B for rupees 100. So A has promised to sell his book to B for rupees 100. Now B promises to pay 100 rupees to A. So B's promise to pay 100 rupees is the consideration for A's promise to sell his book. So A has promised to sell his book, and what he is getting? He is getting B is promising to pay for it. A's promise to sell the book is consideration for B's promise to pay rupees 100. Simple example. A sells his book to B for rupees 100. A is giving a book. What A is getting from B? He is getting 100 rupees. When A is giving a book, he is getting 100 rupees. So he is giving as well as getting something. What B is giving? B is giving 100 rupees. What he is getting? He is getting a book. So both the parties are giving something and getting something, and that something is called as a consideration. So in every contract, element of consideration is very necessary. If there is no consideration, no contract at all. Now the next essential element of a valid contract is lawful object. Now what is object? Object means the purpose for which the contract has or agreement has come into existence. So the object or purpose of an agreement, the purpose for which the agreement has entered into, that purpose should be a lawful purpose. Now, so the object for which the purpose for which the agreement has been entered into, it should be, we can call it as lawful. When we can call it as a lawful? When it should not be fraudulent. It should not be regarding committing fraud. It should not be illegal. It should not be against the provisions of any law. It should not be immoral, against the principles of morality. Or it should not be opposed to public policy. It should not be regarding something which is against the or interest of general public. Then it should not imply injury to person or property of another. then that object we can call it as a lawful object. So the object, the purpose for which agreement is entered into, it should not be fraudulent, illegal, immoral, opposed to public policy, and it must not be regarding implying injury to person or property of another. If the object of agreement is unlawful for one or the other reasons which are mentioned above, means one or the other reasons means unlawful, immoral, or it should not be a fraudulent or implying injury to person or property or against the public policy, etc., then in that case that agreement will be totally void, not enforceable by law. Example of it: when a landlord knowingly lets a house to a prostitute and he knows that the prostitute is going to carry on the business of prostitution in that place or in that house which he has let it. In that case, such agreement is illegal or it is immoral. The purpose of that agreement is immoral. Prostitution is immoral. Therefore, that agreement will be illegal and such agreement will not be enforceable by law. If landlord goes to a court of law for any remedy, for anything if goes wrong in that contract or in that agreement, court will not consider that agreement as valid agreement. It will not be a contract. It will be a void agreement. Another example, that one point we have said that the agreement should not be regarding implying injury to person or property of another. Say for example, A says to B that you go and beat C. A says to B, you go and beat C, third person, I will pay you 10,000 rupees. As per the agreement, B goes and beats C. After beating C, he comes to A and says that as per our agreement, I have beaten C, now give me 10,000 rupees. A refuses to give 10,000 rupees to B. Can B go and file a case in the court of law against A to claim that 10,000 rupees? No, because beating someone is regarding providing injury or it is illegal, it is against law. Therefore, in that case, such an agreement is void, not enforceable by law. So, the object or the purpose of an agreement should be lawful. So, all these points, one essential elements we have to study in detail. One small unit we have to study on that. At that time, we will discuss all these points in detail. Here, just we are discussing one full question, that is essentials of a valid contract. So, in short, we are discussing these points. Thank you.